Welcome to Scrappin with Sheri and page 103 in the sketchbook. Now we are almost to Thanksgiving, but one of the things that I am thankful for is the ability to go and see lighthouses. And so today I'm going to do another lighthouse page. I'm going to admit to you up front, I don't know where this page is headed really. I pulled out a couple of papers from the Coastal Shore collection because I like them. I like the way they looked with my pictures. But I'm just not real sure about making this. And my issue is I really need this to be a double spread. So I was looking at it trying to figure out the best way to do it. I did practice kind of on a white sheet just to kind of figure out how to do the triangles and that kind of stuff. And that's really all I've done. So my biggest problem, I think, is the fact that I have directional paper. So I drew little lines on here to see how those directions would play out. So let's get started and see what we can do. So you've got 4 large triangles on this particular layout. And it almost looks like they've made the background paper be one of the triangles. I'm not going to do that because I need to make this go across 2 pages. So my first thought is to half this diagonally, both directions. If you're aware of your 12-inch trimmer, you know that it's not going to accommodate the paper that is this large. So what I like to do to get on my diagonals is to go ahead and fold my paper. I've got it folded this way and this way. And I'm just going to stick that paper folded into my trimmer. And I've got my fold line right here. I'm going to try to match up my points to my cutting line. And I'm doing that on the top and the bottom. And then we're just going to slice that. And then we can go back to these other fold lines and do the same thing. Now, as I'm cutting this paper, I'm already thinking, okay, am I doing this right? Is this going to work? Some of you who are more geometrically astute than I am are probably thinking, that's not right. It's not going to work. But we'll see, won't we? So let me just lay it down and see where I am. Because in cutting that, I've got all my directions covered, depending on what I want to use where. But I obviously don't want it all to be the same paper. So I could flip a couple of these. But then I still need, I'm looking, I kind of like it on this navy. They actually made strips. They made 1/4-inch strips to put here and here. But I could do it directly on the navy as is. And I'm kind of liking that. But I need something smaller to go here or there. I had pulled out this paper. The problem with that is, oh, that is way too much. We can't do that many stripes. So we're going to have to come up with an alternate plan to do the smaller triangles in the middle of this. So we could do that by going back and using this sheet of navy. Or I have this sheet that goes with that collection that's got the cloudy look on it. And that might work. I'm just looking at how well I like that paper, and I think it's okay. I don't really want to use the teal because my pictures just didn't have the teal in them. So to make these inner triangles, it shows me on here that it's a 4.5 tall by 9-inch wide base. So I'm going to cut this paper down to be a 9 by 9 square. And I can just do that by cutting 3 inches off. I don't know that this paper is necessarily as directional, so I might be able to get by with not worrying about how it's cut exactly. And then now I just need to cut point to point. And that should give me my 4.5 by my 9 triangle. Yep, it's too big. Oh, because that's still a 12-inch. So I need to go to 4.5 here, it looks like. Y'all getting all this? Let me just make pencil marks. If I cut this here, is that going to give me a 9-inch wide base? That's what I'm looking at. Because the base is supposed to be 9 inches. Well, yeah, it will. All right, we can do that. And I'm going to cut both of these at the same time just to make them the same size. Now, what you saw me do is put my pencil marks at the 4.5 inch area, because I need this to be 4.5 tall. And I'm putting my pencil marks on my cut lines here just to even all that up. Y'all know when it comes to shapes, sometimes I'm just very challenged. This is one of those times. All right. So what we have right here now is basically the look of that page right there. And actually pretty quick. Not what I anticipated in the least. But I told you my biggest problem is the fact that I really want this to be a 2-page spread. So let me pull another sheet of navy, because I do think my best bet is going to be to keep the navy cardstock as the background. So if you wanted to do this page just as is, there you go. You would have to trim down this triangle just a little bit, just to leave that background. I would do that before I would cut all of these little 1/4-inch strips for sure. Is just leave your navy as your background, or your background color. Leave it showing through and just trim this off a little bit to give you the color through the center. But to make this a 2-page spread, what if we just slide this here, and then we have this triangle and this triangle right through the middle. So it looks totally different, but I love that. And that's exactly what I want to do. That gives me some open space, and it's going to allow me room to put plenty of pictures on this page. So let's go ahead and stick this down. This may end up easier than I thought. This was one that the more I looked at it, the worse it got in my mind. So I've just kind of been putting it off a little bit. I kept thinking, I'll just do something different. I'll come back to that another day. But I do know that with Thanksgiving and Christmas coming up, and we've got birthdays and just lots of things going on, my world is not going to get any easier. And it'd just be better to go ahead and get the hard things out of the way. That's kind of the way I work. I get hard things out of the way first, then I can play. And I just want to tell you, I will be doing a Thanksgiving edition for Saturday. That will be the day, well, a couple of days after Thanksgiving. In our world, that's Iron Bowl Day, so it's a really big deal. But I am going to be doing a Thanksgiving edition to show you some Thanksgiving ideas. And should be ready to have pictures on those pages, I hope. And then in December, I'm going to do a couple of different things. We should be finished with our book. And I want to do some things, giving you some ideas about how to take Christmas pictures, what kind of Christmas pictures to take, how to go about using that Epson. I know some of you have that on your Christmas list because you talked to me about it. So how to go about using that Epson PM400 and making it work for you, how to do some editing, and if you take pictures with your phones. So I'll be doing a little pre-scrapbooky kind of stuff, I guess. It'll be things that you use for your scrapbooks, but maybe not necessarily layouts. Although it'll be hard for me not to do a layout as well, so I may just be pulling some virtual crop ideas to do. Maybe some cute borders. You'll just want to stay tuned in December. You never know what'll come up then. Gotta love it when a page comes together when you thought it was going to be really hard, and it's just not so bad. Now, if you liked the look of this initially, you saw how quick it was. Basically, all you had to do was cut corner to corner twice, and you had your base page ready. I like those buoys on there. Not something I thought I would ever use, but at this particular lighthouse, at Presque Isle Lighthouse in Erie, Pennsylvania, we were able to see some of those buoys, so it worked out really well that I had this paper. All right, so here's what we started with. Here's when we made it a 2-pager. And let's add our pictures on this and get this wrapped up. So I did develop some of my pictures in the sizes they recommended. Like this is a 3.5 by 3.5 photo. I did do that one. I did a 2.5 by 2.5, but I really kind of liked that on this picture. You know how I like to overlap. They've covered the corner here, so I think I'll try that. I had this postcard that I really liked. And because it has the name on it also, I mean, here's the name as well. What if I go down with that and cover up those people standing there in my picture? So I've got this. I had this with the 2 lenses. This was an original lens for the lighthouse, and then they showed us how they use this LED lens now. That was kind of fun to watch. We'd never seen people light up the lens for us, so that was cool. And then to go to the other side, I just loved that old stove. I thought that was fun. There's my little buoy things. Some of the stuff they used, the drying rack they used for when ships would shipwreck and then have to go rescue them. They used drying racks to put all the stuff up on it. And you'll notice that I used a couple of 4x6s where they didn't use any 4x6s. But I did that just to put a couple of pictures together. I want to be sure that the whole story is represented. I love their little house out to this side where they kept all their gas cans and kerosene and all the things that they used in the lighthouse. So my layout's a little bit different, but that's because we went with the 2-page spread. The big thing I'm missing is they did a title right here through the middle. I don't necessarily need a title because of this, but there's also a little border here and here. So I'm thinking I want to make a border to go through the middle of this whole thing. If you're looking, you're also noticing I probably need to back this one right here in white because it was a postcard and it's the only thing that doesn't have the white background behind it. So let's go ahead and back that. I think I'm going to use this cover sheet that I had used to do my triangles on. Let's see if I can get it in. This actually is a thicker cover sheet, so it may not work and it may be too folded up. When you need to practice something, I would always suggest that you do it on paper you don't really care about. Paper that doesn't matter so much, like a color you know you're never going to use. Or some of these cover sheets are fine. But give it a quick try just to see if it works. Otherwise, I'd have been cutting on my good paper all day long. And that's the end of what I have for the Coastal Shore collection. So, how many of you have taken advantage of Creative Memories Black Friday deals? I always love the Black Friday deals, getting some cute freebie collections that you don't usually see any other time of year. And typically, they don't bring those back out for sale at any point in time. So, Black Friday is the best time to get those collections. All right, so we've got that. Now, the one thing I mentioned was adding the border through the center. But I think we're through with all that cutting. And the perfect border for this would be my lighthouse punch. So there's my lighthouse punch. And in looking at the colors, you know, a lot of times I go with navy on this. But I think a white one through the middle might look good. We'll give it a try and see what it looks like. Now, as soon as I say that, I'm thinking, oh, I've got this paper that's Stardust White. This was a special paper that Creative Memories came out with. I ordered lots of it because I love the fact that it's not stark white. just has a little bit of variation in it. So I'm going to go with that. It's got some reds and blues kind of sprinkled in there. And we're just going to cut a lighthouse border, actually 2 of them. This border is good because it comes straight off the punch. There's nothing to trim once you're done. Yeah, I think that's going to look good on there. And one more of those. Pull it back out, and we'll add the borders first. We'll need our repositionable tape and our silicone mat. I got just a little edge there, and I'll just pop those off with my fingernails. I'm not worried about sticking every little lighthouse down, top to bottom, whatever. I'm going to get the edges good on each end. And it works out pretty good because I've got this center mark on here where my triangles come together. That's going to give me a center place to line this up. And then I'm going right across the points here as well. And that does make it closer to the top than the bottom because we're heavy on the lighthouses on the top. But I know I've got room for that because of this photo right here. And I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. I do want to leave some of those little buoys showing. That's part of the reason I had held off on using this paper, was because I wanted it for this particular page. Just gives us a coastal feel without being too much. I did develop these pictures on my printer with the white. I'm going to add that one right there. And strangely enough, I could have really added more pictures onto this page, but I didn't take more. I have really tried to cut down and be more intentional in my picture taking and not take a million pictures that I have to weed through. It has made my life a lot easier, especially on these trips when we're gone for a long time. And typically I would have taken several hundred pictures. And we can just line this one up right here, go across the points here. And then basically what I'm doing is mirroring side to side, almost. And obviously my papers are a little bit off here. I want to make sure that that's pretty close to the same in the middle. I do like that that white through there. I think it really stands out nicely against all the other colors we've got going on. Right up there on the top because we could see that sailboat in the distance, and I just thought that was pretty. I'm actually moving this to match my corner right there. All right, so what do you think? Now, you know I'm a lover of memorabilia. I love having all the extra stuff on my pages that comes from doing these tours. But I've run into a problem here. And here's the problem. We had a tour time to go into the house, and they put it on this nice little sticker, but that sticker doesn't match anything. So you tell me, would you add the sticker? Would you not add the sticker? I'm not going to put it on yet. I'm going to wait to see what your response is on that. If I add it, I feel like that just becomes a focal point of everything. Is it important that I know what time we went into there? Probably not. But I have 2 of those stickers. Yay. I did try copying it on my copy machine in black and white, but because of the color, it ended up being way too dark. You couldn't even see what it had on it. So I'm going to leave the sticker off until you tell me what you want to do. Now, oh, I forgot to stick one picture. I don't necessarily feel like I need embellishments on this page, but that doesn't mean I won't add any. You know, as I'm looking, there's a lot of cardstock showing, and I'm not typically one who has a lot of cardstock showing on my page. I typically use it more for matting than anything else. So there's cardstock here. I do need to do a little bit of journaling, and quite possibly that'll go there. But again, I'm going to wait until you give me your opinion on whether I need to use those green stickers or not. So for right now, until you let me know otherwise, page 103 in the sketchbook is done. We did it as a double spread, so it looks a little different, but still, I really like the look of that. I'm real pleased with the way it turned out. So tune in next time. We'll have some Thanksgiving ideas, and it won't be long till we'll be starting on Christmas. So until I see you next time, happy scrapping.